Welcome to the Non-Sequitur Show. Continual watching beyond this point may result in terminal face palming and a complete loss of wokeness. You have been warned.
Welcome to the Non-Sequitur Show. Kind of a interesting little episode we have for you tonight. It will be pretty short for two reasons. One, the letter that I have isn't exceptionally long. It is handwritten, 2 pages, but in type form, it's not as much as it appears to be. Also, Rhetoric and I are rather tired tonight. I'm not going to front. We're rather tired, so we're going to try to keep this down to less than an hour to kind of do a little backstory on the situation with Mercedes Carrera and how we got involved with her as far as the Non-Sequitur Show, and why I have a letter in my hand, handwritten from her. But before we start, somebody in the live chat says Rhetoric and Raw are the reasons why they're an atheist now. Thank you both. Well, there you go. Rhetoric, you've had impact on people.
Oh God! Oh God!
And it wasn't about your flat Earth stuff, right? I mean, so
yeah, I know. It's that's interesting. I thought my flat Earth stuff would be the thing that I'm known for, but I turned somebody into an atheist. I guess it's because after you see my face, you become convinced that there is no God,
or you think there is one to pray to and say, "Please, dear God, never let anybody look like this ever again." That's what I did.
Good times.
Now, if he would have said, Rhetoric, you're the reason why I became a flat earther, that would have been something to discuss, I think.
I would have been like slander. That is slander right there.
Liable. All right. So anyways, let me kind of give a backstory. So several years ago, we had on a guest named Mercedes Carrera, who was a porn star at the time. She was more of the, I guess, the MILF genre, I guess you can say. I think that'd be the most appropriate way to kind of put her area of expertise as far as porn. There goes the we're already demonetized right now just by saying that word, Reds, which is fine. But she had that niche, and she was arrested about 5 years ago. I think it was 2019 for various things. Doesn't really matter the details per se, but they did involve her own child, and they did involve weapons and drugs. Later on, some of the charges were dropped. Like, I do know the gun charge possession was dropped, and there's some other things in here that she alludes to, which I'll discuss as far as the letter she responded to us. So she was a very entertaining guest, probably one of my more favorite guests, so to speak, because unbeknownst to many people, Mercedes Carrera actually had a degree in engineering, which is something that I enjoy and Rhetoric enjoy. So I was fascinated by her. We had a very good discussion. She was very articulate, very entertaining, very educated. She used to do, I think she told me that she did aerospace engineering, basically, for engineering stuff, if I'm not mistaken. Is that what you recall? I know you weren't on that episode, but I don't know if you even watched it. By the way, do you remember this show? Do you remember where you're at?
I actually do remember that show. Although it was so long ago, I couldn't tell you what she was majoring in as far as engineering.
I'm pretty sure it's aerospace, but I have to go back and watch it again. But anyways, you guys can all go watch the original. I will put the link to the original video in the video description. So anyways, I reached out to her and I wanted to know if I can get an update for you all and for us, and she was more than willing to do so. So I will be writing back to her, letting her know that we did read her letter on air, as I told her I was going to do, and that anything you have to say to her, leave in the comments section, and I will personally add that to the letter to her in jail. Now, obviously, we don't know what happened. I did tell her that I do believe very strongly in the American way and innocent until proven guilty, because as we found, Reds, people that have been accused of things online are often innocent. Not saying she is, not saying she isn't, but we know firsthand how accusations can really weigh on people firsthand, like absolutely firsthand. Hey, Reds, why don't you have mods? Did we take you mods away? I don't remember. I know we cleared them all out, but
we cleared them out, but yeah. It could have been just YouTube doing stuff.
Yeah. Do you want it back?
Sure. Why not?
Now I don't want to give it. Let's see. There we go. Managing moderator. There we go. All right. I made you manager mod so you can put in whatever you need to change the filters and stuff. So, like I said, I wrote to her, and she wrote back extremely quickly. I was actually really surprised. And so, if you guys have anything to say to her, by all means, try to make it more positive, because she is in jail, and she's been there 5 years pre-trial. 5 years pre-trial. She hasn't even been put to trial yet. She hasn't been convicted of anything, which to me is mind-blowing. Can you imagine? I mean, yes, the crimes she's been accused of are horrific. There's no question about this. But imagine if you were innocent and spending 5 years in jail on pre-trial because of the system. And she makes a pretty good case that the system has issues, and I've looked into her claims, and they seem to have merit. But I will leave that to the audience to do their own due diligence and come up with the conclusion they want to come up with. Again, you're free to believe whether she's innocent or guilty, but we do have innocent until proven guilty in America, and I'm going to go by that because I think that is a fair and honorable thing to do. And so if you do wish to leave her a comment that I will include in the next letter to her, please try to be positive, because I can't imagine sitting in jail for 5 years on something I didn't do. Could you, Reds?
No. Now, a quick question on that. Has she been sitting in jail for 5 years because of stuff that she's been doing, or is it stuff that the state has been doing to delay things? Mostly
the state. From what I gathered, she does have a webpage that I will get into that kind of gives the details on this. From what I understand, she does not want to capitulate. She wants to fight for her innocence, and in doing so, the lawyers that she's had 3 attorneys already, 3 defenders, and they just cycle through them. And so they don't really want her to put on a defense, I guess. I gather they want her to take some plea, but she's just refusing to. And they keep just cycling through, through defenders and prosecutors. And she makes note of that in the letter that the prosecutors in San Bernadino County tend to just hand off cases that they don't think they can win. So they just pawn them off, and they keep pawning them off. And she makes the case that the system is very corrupt, which is something I do actually believe. That's not conspiratorial. I have talked to many people in the First Amendment auditor community, especially people like James Freeman. If you haven't checked out his channel, he's got like 500,000 subs. Go check him out. James is one of my favorite content creators. Love him, hate him, I don't really care. I think the guy is great, and I like his content. And if he turns out to be a piece of crap like other First Amendment auditors, well, so be it. But I don't think so. I think he's really got it going on and made a niche for himself as doing great at reviewing audits rather than participating in them so much anymore. Although he has done a lot of work in city councils meetings to change things. And so I think he's right. I think there is a lot of corruption in government, and I hate to say that, but from what I've seen, I kind of tend to believe Mercedes Carrera is probably correct on this. So
yeah, probably. Although, I mean, I don't know for sure. Let me make that explicitly clear.
Right, this is all our opinion. Let's put that on the table.
Yeah, she is either entitled to her freedom or she's entitled to her trial. They have to pick one or the other at this point, especially for 5 years.
Yeah, she says they can keep them indefinitely if they're charged with some major crimes. there's nothing that's in the Constitution except there is the Sixth Amendment, which is obviously the right for speedy trial, but that could be waived by the defense, which apparently has been done. And like I said, to the people out there in live chat, put your well wishes in the comment section, and then I will personally cut and paste what you write, if it's appropriate, and send it to her in a letter, and then attach your name to it if you wish, or you can tell me if you don't want your name attached or whatever. But she does write back, which, obviously she has a lot of time on her hands, but I think that, writing letters and things of that nature is important when you're incarcerated. Look, I've never been incarcerated, but I was in the Navy for 6 years, which is almost as bad. There's a lot of similarities there. I mean, you're confined to a ship for, months on end, very limited things that you can do, and you have a very specific regiment that you have to do. Now, I'm not saying that being in the military is like being in jail, but there are some similarities there. And when you are out at sea and you are confined to a very small part of, the ship, basically, so to speak, in the middle of nowhere, getting a letter from home, mail call they call it, is pretty important. I still have my letters that I have sent to my parents when I was in the Navy. My mom gave me all those letters. I still have them. They're here with me, and they mean a lot to me because I've reread some of them, and man, memories, dude. I was like, man, I totally remember when I wrote this, or I have no idea what the hell I was even talking about because it's been so long, No,
I feel you there. Although a quick thing about the letters that she was getting, and I'm sure she's living underneath certain restrictions. But you mentioned that she's managing a website. Is that possible from where she is right now?
Apparently, yeah, well, I don't know if she's managing it. She says she has one. She did say that she's doing a podcast from jail, which I haven't seen yet. So I have to go check that out. I have to go hunt that down.
Yeah, that's what I was curious about. Do certain individuals get certain privileges, and that's how she's able to manage a website or a podcast? Or I assume she might have an employee that's working, or a friend or a family member that's working for her, taking care of all that stuff on the outside.
It's possible. Yeah, I honestly, I don't know. And when I write her back, I will ask her more about that if I can't find her podcast, or even if I do, I might inquire more on that.
Yeah. So I think but getting back to it, if she's been in there for 5 years for the sole reason that she doesn't want to, I guess, bend the knee to the system, let's say, then I understand it, but I also think it's incredibly messed up that a person can be held that long because the system is screwy. But then again, we have experience with the legal system. We know that it can absolutely drag on and on and on, and that the other side can engage in gamesmanship. And now that I think about it, I think we're very familiar that gamesmanship is a thing that can happen, and it can drag shit out for really stupid reasons.
We are more than familiar with that, and my audience has been around since day one, is more than familiar with it. And that was a civil matter that, in our case, that we had actually managed to make somewhat criminal. I mean, the reality is that the prior, I'm not going to get too specific, but the prior co-host for this show ended up being in jail because of this show. Like, literally stayed in jail. I'm not even fronting. It was a civil matter that turned criminal because he was found to have submitted false evidence to the court, and that was primarily because diligent viewers and friends of ours that have been related to the show was able to catch him red-handed, bring to the court's attention, and the court extremely agreed with us without even much of a fact of the matter, other than they had their clerk of the court, or the judge's clerk, to verify certain things. And what was it that the court had said, Reds? You have it memorized, if I'm not mistaken.
The court need not put itself in the position of failing to recognize that which is obvious to everyone else.
Well, that's a very, very poignant statement. I mean, that basically is saying the truth from the court. This is obvious that the guy lied to the court. It was that obvious. And yet it was funny because there was people out there who it wasn't obvious to and was actually supporting him and thought I was lying.
Yeah, I know. This is regarding a letter from a porn star, and I don't want to derail too much, but um, that little barcode kind of fucked you, didn't it? You know who you are.
So
Anyway.
we definitely know firsthand the gamesmanship. So I tend to believe Mercedes on this, because also one thing that to note was we have talked about the prison system being based upon, especially the privatized system, based upon recidivism, based upon people violating probation and violating parole. Matter of fact, Reds, a little detour here before I read this letter. I was out last week, matter of fact, and I am not too far from a major justice center. Literally not that far. This is why I kind of like where I live. Crime exactly where I'm at is like pretty minor. It's all petty stuff, right? For the most part, because we are so close to the police station, so close to the detention center. Crime tends to go away from those types of places, right? Okay, so I happen to like where we're at for that very reason. But if you go another mile, from us, then crime rises dramatically. So like I said, we have a detention center here, and I was talking to somebody who had just got out, because they get out and they basically say, hey, go away. They don't give them, much. But I was at Del Taco, and I started talking to a guy, and he was picked up on a probation violation merely because he didn't have a home address. Now think about this. He's homeless. He didn't have a home address. That's a parole violation. But in order to get off of the parole, you need housing. Yet finding housing is difficult, and to get picked up for that as a parole violation just shows that they don't care. They don't care if you violate parole or probation or not. They want you to. They look for reasons to do so, because that has got to be one of the dumbest reasons I've ever heard in my life.
No, I actually saw that. Violation. No, I actually saw that. It was on TV. It was on an episode of Cops, Stupid as Fuck Edition.
I believe that. I believe that's actually. You probably have seen something like that, because this was something that I know happens. But I did tell the guy, look, from what I understand, there's places down here that you can use an address for that very thing, and he had heard that, and so he said we're going to check it out. But yeah, so the system is really set to violate these people, especially in the privatized prisons, because it is a market for a business. It's a money making scheme in some ways.
Yeah.
Right. They get paid per how many inmates they have. They want you there.
Well, this is and again, I know we're kind of derailing here, but I want all of you guys to look up something. If you want an example of just how messed up the system can get, look up a documentary that was revolving around the Cash for Kids scandal. I think that's literally the name of the documentary, Cash for Kids, where you had two judges that were taking kickbacks from a not for-profit college, even though they should also be illegal, in my opinion, a for-profit jail or prison for kids. And it was so egregious and so disgusting, it just boggles the mind. I remember one story where a girl walked up to one of these corrupt judges, and the judge said, "How many buttons are on your blouse? That's how many years you're going behind bars." Or, "Hey, there's a football game going on today. What team are you rooting for?" The kid would say a random team. "You just picked the wrong team. You're going away for 11 months.
Wait, a judge did this?
Yeah, the judge did this. It was the judge was taking kickbacks from the for-profit jail or prison or whatever we're calling it. And as a result, they would send these kids that in reality didn't really need to be sent there. And we're talking about kids that were guilty of like drawing on the classroom wall or something like that. I mean, obviously that's annoying. I just force them to clean that shit off. In my opinion, I wouldn't send them to, be put behind bars or anything like that. But these judges were paid off to be extra harsh on these kids. and essentially ruin their lives so they could get, financial gain from it. And it's a huge documentary, and yeah, it's brutal. It is absolutely brutal. I recommend it, but just understand that if you watch it, you will get incredibly pissed off.
Yeah, it's got to be. I mean, I know that's highly illegal. I mean,
very, very legal. They were caught. The two judges are actually in jail right now. They were fined out the backside finally after the justice system caught up to itself. But it was way because they were able to get away with this for years, if memory serves me correct.
Do you remember the story? And then we'll get in the letter. Do you remember the story of those two female officers that flipped a coin, and basically flipped a coin on their app on their phone, and they let the app decide if they arrested somebody or not, and they got fired, and I'm pretty sure charged on that for something dereliction or something of relating to improper whatever or something. I'm pretty sure they got charged, but they did get fired because we can't do that stuff.
We know that the legal system can totally screw people, and like I said, I don't know this woman that we're about to talk about, and especially when we read out her letter. But the one thing I would say is, innocent or not, she either needs to have her trial or she needs to have her freedom. 5 years, in my opinion, is way too long. That's absolutely absurd. Either you have what you need to demonstrate that she's guilty of the crime, or you fucking don't.
Yeah, exactly. And Poggy had asked, is her Sixth Amendment being violated? No, because she's waived that because reasons, I guess.
This isn't even, in my opinion, this shouldn't even be a Sixth Amendment issue. Just should be a basic decency issue.
Human rights, right? Yeah, 5 years.
Yeah, like holy shit.
Here's the thing: even if she's tried and found guilty, she was probably only looking at like 8 to 10 years, anyways. Time off of good behavior. She probably would be time served. That's 5 years time served already.
Tell me.
Autistic Shield says something about a mom who took her kids in December, caught in Manitoba in June. The kids got put into care by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, I think. Is that what it is? Gets a call, and then the kids were no longer care. Mom took them back again. I'm not sure exactly what that refers to, autistic, but I did want to read that out. And then Real Cygnus says PA just had a scam like that. Was that Philadelphia? Or Pennsylvania, I'm sorry. Pennsylvania just had a scam like that. Okay, so how about we start reading the letter? I did send Rhetoric an email, so he does have a copy of the letter that I translated from text to voice, from handwritten to voice to text. So I think I did it pretty accurately, Reds. I kind of put in the hyphens and quotation marks that she did, but it may not be perfect. But you get the gist, right?
Yeah, I get the gist. I'm going to go ahead and start off with the opening and then the first paragraph, and we will go from there. It starts off with, Dear Steve, thank you for your letter. I hope you and all of your listeners are well. And she continues, because there was supposed to be a period there, I assume. Steve, asshole.
There was. I said period, but it maybe didn't take.
I see. So it looks like I'm going to have to work extra hard today because of you. I appreciate that you have been taking the time to write me. It is always a pleasure to reconnect with someone from past years. You can find updates on my case and life in West Valley on my website, which we will link in the description. I have been doing my own podcast from inside of here, although it is tremendously difficult. I am locked in a cell without access to a phone for 21 hours a day. Holy shit. Despite what people think they know about this environment, no, we do not have tablets or jobs. I'm in jail, which is supposed to be temporary housing. Yet I've been held in so-called pretrial detention for over 5 years.
I should note that, because I wasn't able to do this to your transcription, but she underlined no when she says, no, we do not have tablets. And She also emphasized something else here. Yeah, the 5 years she put the 5 years in parentheses, like to really emphasize that it was five. It's been 5 years, but she said no, we do not have tablets or jobs. 21 hours a day. 21 hours a day. Now again, let me reemphasize this: that if she's guilty, then it is what it is, and I have no remorse for her if she really is convicted of what she was accused of. But it doesn't sound like that's going to happen. I mean, but again, pure speculation. But I'm hoping that it doesn't, because not only did I have an affinity toward her as a great guest, the crimes involve a child, and to think that a child would have been harmed like this is too much, And so we always want to think the best, that this isn't what happened. The charges against her isn't what happened. And they have dropped many of them already. They're already finding out that some of the things that she was initially charged with was not the case, from what I understand. So
yeah, and I'm also seeing here that, okay, so she doesn't have tablets, so I'm assuming reading into that she doesn't have access to the internet. So this would
I would imagine she probably goes to the library. There's probably internet access in a communal area, because at that 21 hours, 4 hours is probably recreation and some other things that she.
Yeah, but could you do what she needed to do with a podcast from?
I have no idea.
A public use. Yeah, a public use library computer inside a detention center. I will have
to look for her podcast. I do have her webpage. It's not very detailed, to say the least, but I don't recall anything on it talking about a podcast.
This is the part where we reveal that we've been sponsored by Squarespace, right? I'm sorry. That was terrible.
I know what's so funny is I don't think I ever would want a sponsor. I don't want to be beholden to anybody. I really don't.
Don't do that. Don't do that. If you're gonna get sponsored by anybody, it would definitely not be Squarespace.
No.
Okay, so she continues.
I hate Cash App.
So she continues with the letter. Without divulging the details of this case, I've already have said publicly multiple times I was involved in constant conflict with my ex regarding custody. So this is how it starts, Steve.
Yeah, and this is what she's been saying all along from day one, that this is from her ex, I guess an abusive ex that accused her of these things. And by the way, if that is true, and if they find out that he did falsely accuse her, he should spend 5 years in jail.
Yeah, he should get absolutely slammed for this shit. Due to these allegations, he was able to strip me of custody without paying a dime. The sheriff's department, by the way, can't publish whatever they want about you.
Can't publish.
No, it says can't publish.
God dang it! Will you change that? I'm sorry. They can publish whatever they want.
Oh, okay, because you put can't here. See, Steve, this is why
you only asked me to send it to you. You didn't ask me to proof it. Okay, I didn't.
I'm just saying, speech to text is good, but sometimes it messes up. So you got to put a little effort here. By no effort can be, too much to ask for some things. I get it.
Somebody's gonna say that's just AI that generated that letter. Somebody's gonna do it, right?
Yes. And AI did a really, really crappy job and wasn't operating with the full dosage of caffeine. Anyway,
it was chat 3.5, not 4.0.
Let me just stop here then. It says due to these allegations, he was able to strip me of custody without paying a dime. So let me make sure I understand this. So they were having issues. This porn star and her boyfriend or husband or whoever the fuck he is, and there was a child involved.
Correct.
So the ex, according to her, decided to strip her of custody by making up some shit, and because the shit that was made up was so egregious, it ended up costing her 5 years of her life.
Correct. I guess it involved I guess the child was either 12 or 13, give or take, or younger. So very young, very young.
It's like, now if that is true, the dude should be dragged into detention by his fucking testicles because that's incredibly fucked up.
And remember, this accusation, if I'm not mistaken, was her own biological daughter. So I mean, granted, there have been stories of moms doing that, especially with boyfriends. For some strange reason, I don't know what would possess a mother to ever do that to a child. It just unimaginable. But the fact that she was in the porn industry, I guess people let their minds think it might be a little bit more possible because she was in porn that she would do that. But they also don't remember that she was extremely well educated. She's not an idiot. She has a background in engineering, and like I said, if you watch the original video with her, very, very intelligent. It doesn't sound like she's devoid of morality, that she would think that this would be something that would be appropriate, because I guess the charges was something like her and her boyfriend were involving her daughter in certain videos. But come to find out later that no video was actually discovered, she says. She says there is no actual video.
Yeah, and just to make sure that people are fully aware of this, I have no reason to doubt that our audience is smart enough to realize the obvious. But just because a person is in porn, or if they have an OnlyFans, stuff like that, that doesn't mean that they are not smart. That doesn't mean that they're criminals. That doesn't mean that they're child abusers. That doesn't mean that at all. They can be super intelligent. They can be smarter than you. So just keep that in mind, guys.
Some OnlyFans girls are shrewd businesswomen, to say the least.
And the thing is, if you have it, more power to you. I know I don't fucking have it. No one's gonna subscribe to my OnlyFans.
You would lose money if you had an OnlyFans. You'd be the only OnlyFans person that actually lost money on it.
OnlyFans would send me a bill
and be charged criminally for probably psychological damage to your subscribers.
Oh man, yes, it would be a total dumpster fire. But anyway, so it then continues. The sheriff's department, by the way, can publish whatever they want about you once they have you in custody, especially if they allege that there were videos in quotes that are patently untrue. Yet I have gave SBSD, whatever the fuck.
San Bernardino Sheriff's Department.
All right. The password to my devices, and the prosecution waited 5 years to look into them and confirm there was, in fact, nothing illegal on my phone.
That's pretty telling. I mean, and see, here's the thing. I don't see why she would lie about that, because if she was saying that there is no videos, then if it came out there's a video, then it would definitely hurt her case, right? I mean, I don't see why she would be telling people there's no videos if there was in fact a video.
Are we talking like videos of? I hate to suggest.
Yeah, we know what the videos. We know what the suggested videos are supposed to be of. Yes.
It's CP, right?
Yes.
Oh,
with her own daughter and her boyfriend.
Yeah.
This is why it was such an egregious thing to begin with, right?
Yeah, that's quite an accusation. And here's the thing: if what she's saying is true, she gave the passwords to her devices.
That's not a good idea to by the way, without a warrant.
It really is. But let's say
passwords. Red's being one of them, but for a fact. Well, no, obviously she has my passwords, and so she uses my computer for gaming and stuff. So she has full access to my computer.
Well, let's assume for a fact that that your devices are squeaky clean and that they weren't messed with in any way, shape, or form, and you were like, actually, no, you're full of shit and I can prove it. Here's the passwords. Check for yourself. And they don't look into it.
Yeah, but I still think it's a good idea.
It says here they waited 5 years to look into them to confirm that there was nothing illegal there.
I want everything on record because I don't trust anybody anymore when it comes to screwing people over, like especially cops. We know what cops can do, so I would want an actual warrant still.
Yeah, I can totally. Yeah, there's always the possibility that they can plant some shit on you. And we've We know of many examples where the cops have even fucking admitted it. That is not a joke.
Admitted and seen it on camera. Planning
Go,
stuff. Yes.
go figure, right?
Can everybody in my live chat real quick give a little bit of a notice to what do they call it? A little bit of warmth to Autistic Shill, Purple Dragon, my mod, because she's been dealing with some pain issues lately. So let's give her some hugs or something. Appreciate you being here, Artistic. I know you're not feeling well.
All right, and yep, all the love sent from Red's Rhetoric. It's not worth much, but what I can offer. On my site, you can find copies of the illegal fake search warrants used to detain me. Okay, Steve, you're gonna have to explain that to me.
I did look at. Okay, so I looked at the webpage and I looked at the warrant, and I honestly have no idea what I'm looking at. So, if you go to her webpage, which was what was it? It was in the beginning here. She did tell me it's called justiceformercedescarrera.com. So justice number 4, and then her name mercedescarrera.com, which is her stage name, by the way. There is a warrant on there. It doesn't look like it was filed though or anything. I don't know. It just doesn't. I have no idea what I'm looking at, to be straight up. So maybe what we can do, Rez, we know a mutual person who actually knows about these things that is in this very profession that we could probably send it to and ask. Okay? So
I think that would be wise, because it says here on my site you can find copies of the illegal fake search warrants used to detain me. Well, if they're illegal and fake and just basically bullshit, then how can they be used to do a goddamn thing?
I have no idea, but we've seen weirder things. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I'm not a conspiracy person, but nothing about this case makes sense. I've certainly never seen anything like it.
Yeah. Okay. So on my site, you can find copies of the illegal fake search warrants used to detain me. They are not sealed, i.e., signed and stamped by the judge, nor were they ever filed with the courthouse because, of course, they aren't valid. Okay. So they don't have a signature by a judge. They were never filed with the courthouse. Then the question becomes, how does anyone have them to be used against you in some way?
I'm sure that the defense attorney was able to get them, right?
I mean, yes, but from where? Wouldn't the courthouse be the only place that they're filed, or do they go to other locations? I assume. I mean, if you have someone that's held at a detention center. Surely I would assume that there's documentation from a judge that states, hey, this person should be here.
I would think
because
so.
if you don't have that paperwork, again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just a better lawyer than some out there, but that's a story for another time. But being that I'm not a lawyer, this is just the way I'm assuming it works, that there's supposed to be some valid paperwork at the detention center that says that person X is supposed to be there in the fucking first place.
Yeah, and they have to know what they're looking for. Now, I'm at the webpage here, and I'm looking at the search warrant, and it says page 1 of 2. So it doesn't, and then it says 2 of 2. Okay, so there is a search warrant here with a detective name. It doesn't have a date on the signature for the search. It doesn't have it has a name, but it doesn't have a date of execution here. It doesn't have any kind of reference number, and it's very difficult to read. I could download it and show it to the audience, but what do you think?
I think the best thing to do would be to just leave the link in the description when we're done here, and just have them take a look at it. Yeah. I think that's the best way to go about it.
Agreed. It wouldn't show very well because it's very difficult to read. So even if I showed it, you probably wouldn't be able to make it out very well.
Yeah. When I tried to bring this forward, my attorney fired me. Okay. He had been a prosecutor in San Bernardino County, and I suspect they do illegal things like this all the time, arresting people and stealing their belongings without search warrants is a violation of the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution in theory. It is also illegal, but San Bernardino, protects their own. And when their cops and detectives behave illegally.
Yeah, and
so
I looked into that, and she might have a point. From 2018, there have been numerous articles that I've seen about widespread corruption in the San Bernardino Sheriff's Department and the council and other people there. So again, I'm not laying any kind of claims. I'm not saying I have any inside information on that. I'm not saying whether they are corrupt or not, but there are stories of corruption going back to 2018, which is just prior to her arrest.
Yeah, she says that she is suspecting that they do illegal things like this all the time. So she did say that explicitly. She suspects that they're doing it. No confirmation, but essentially it's arresting people, stealing their shit, no search warrants. All the documents are fake news. No judge is signing off on it. It's apparently not even filed. And all of this is a violation of the Fourth Amendment, at least in theory. And she is suggesting that these bad actors are simply protecting their own. And
Correct.
No shit. Yeah. No shit, they would protect their own, right?
And we know in California here, I do know. This has happened. You can do your own research on this, but this I know for a fact has happened. They have initiated in California over a period of time enforcement of drug-related crimes that you can attach to private property. Such as cars, houses, boats, and they could seize your assets. They can seize your property. For example, if you're driving down the street and you have some substantial amount of contraband or something like that, they can not only impound your car, they can seize your car and sell it for profit to the city. It is a profit to the city by them seizing assets in drug raids and things of that nature. This was widespread. Yeah. There was a massive amount of abuse of this ability to do so. I don't know if they curtailed it, but it has happened in California. I am absolutely positive it has happened because I've read things about this for years happening. I don't know how widespread it is on other states, though.
Well, there's this thing, and I'm going to do a plug here, not for me, not for you, Steve, but for something that is external to us. There is a group. And this group is currently in the process of fighting against what's called civil asset forfeiture. Basically,
that's what it is, right? That's exactly what it is. Civil asset forfeiture.
Yeah, civil asset forfeiture. They can steal your shit, essentially. And so this group is the Institute for Justice. And what they do is that they go around, it's a bunch of lawyers, and they're suing the shit out of the states and governments that engage in this type of abuse. I believe civil asset forfeiture is an abuse of power. It should be illegal. It should be fought. And so, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, brothers and sisters, if you are able, I would highly, highly recommend donating to the Institute for Justice. They do great work. There was a story of a guy who was driving down the road with a ton of money in his pocket. I think it was something like $70,000 in his pocket, and he was using that money to make a really expensive purchase. I believe it was a truck. Well, when he got pulled over, they took his money from him because they suspected that the money was going to be used for a crime, or that the money was acquired via criminal means. They could never prove this. So instead of, this whole innocent until proven guilty, it's not you that's being put on the underneath the magnifying glass. It's your money that's being put under the magnifying glass. So you can have stupid shit like the state of Nevada versus $80,000 in U.S. currency. The filings are really that fucking stupid. And your money is not given the same protections as innocent until proven guilty. Your money is guilty until you prove it innocent.
That's 100% true. They under civil asset forfeiture, they don't have to prove your guilt.
What was even more disgusting?
It's corruption. It absolutely is used for corruption.
And what's even more disgusting about this is that a lot of times they'll say, well, if you want your money back, then you'll have to sue us. Okay, I would like to sue you, but you have the money that I would use to pay for a goddamn lawyer.
Yeah, it's rigged. It's a rigged system.
It's a fucking rigged system. And when you do eventually,
they wouldn't want me. There's nothing I would have that they would want.
Well, if you do eventually sue them, then they'll try to quote unquote settle the case by giving you some of your money back, maybe half of it, but then they get to keep the rest. And if it's a big amount, like, $80,000, that means getting back half of that, you're only getting $40,000 back, and they get to keep $40,000 of your fucking money, even though you did nothing wrong.
Exactly true.
So please, ladies and gentlemen, if you are able, please donate to the Institute for Justice. They do awesome work. I am subscribed to their YouTube channel. Yes, they have a YouTube channel, and they're also a partner with Leto's Law. That is another YouTube channel out there, which I also recommend. So there you go. Plugs over. We can now continue with this.
All right. Continue on.
It says here that, or she continues with her letter. Ask for innocent until proven guilty. It's nice to hear that there are some who believe this. Yes.
Some still who believe this. Yeah, and I think that is an important thing. Especially as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, Reg and I have seen this in real life. We've seen this in action. Innocent people get framed for stuff, and it still happens to this day. It's continuing.
It does.
I'm still being,
I remember
told I'm doing things that I have never done. Or never would do.
I remember talking to a person that, for certain situations, didn't actually believe in innocent until proven guilty. And I never got the opportunity to say this, but since we're talking about this, I never got the opportunity to say it to them. But at this point, I will go ahead and say this just for the record. To that person, you know who you are. Go fuck yourself.
Just real quick,
go fuck yourself in whatever orifice you have to get fucked in, because innocent until proven guilty should be the It doesn't matter how it makes you feel. You are innocent until proven guilty. Every time, all the time. You don't like it, suck a dick.
And by the way,
that felt really good, Steve. That felt really good. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
It was on my end. I had a little mic issue there. I had to resolve, but
man.
I'm pretty sure
but anyway,
they heard. I mean, they heard you. It's just a little robotic.
Let's see, Steve, you're muted, by the way.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was muted on your end. I had a little mic issue that you might have been robotic to the outside, but they heard you. But I had to fix. We set my mic. So
no problem. But as I was saying, yes, innocent until proven guilty is the gold standard. Doesn't matter how egregious the crime is. Doesn't matter how it makes you feel. Innocent until proven guilty is always the standard. And if anyone disagrees with that, then that individual is wrong. 110%, just fucking wrong.
That's my standard right now. Innocent until proven guilty, and if anybody throws accusations around with no evidence, they can fuck off. I don't have to defend myself to anybody public any longer after what the fuck we've been through. So yeah, I know play
Tell
that
me
game.
about it.
Yeah.
And now the letter proceeds. The truth is, once you're accused and are arrested, you are condemned to pretrial detention, which includes being housed with convicted criminals, a disgusting, unsanitary environment, and being treated poorly by the deputies who are supposed to be the authority in the jail. I can just imagine how unsanitary those places are.
Yeah,
that's gross.
Even on board ship, the living conditions are pretty decent. By the way, somebody says my audio is low. I just kicked it up a little bit, so let me know if that makes a difference, Stan. But I mean, you still have a clean ship, right? I mean, you have to do what's called field day. The most you have is like oil. You can't get rid of oil on ship. It just happens to permeate everything. But for the most part, if you didn't have a clean berthing, your shipmates would definitely let you know about it. And so, I don't think the conditions are the same in jail to that extreme. I mean, sure, they want to have, sanitary and hygienic things, but, you're dealing with inmates. At least in the military, you're dealing with people who, one, volunteered to be there, which maybe they may regret it later. But, these are not, these are not criminals. These are people that are working for the United States government to do a job. And so they don't want somebody that, has been doing these things that she claims in this letter. I mean, like she goes on, to say that she was poisoned, even, which Rhetoric will read about.
Her baby.
But man, it just sounds like it's horrifying being in there.
Yeah, and getting to that, actually, she continues. I have been attacked and poisoned. I had a cellmate who killed one toddler. Oh my God. And
it gets dark. It's really dark. And by the way, Kimo says courts determined innocence. There's no verdict of innocence. No, but there's a presumption of innocence, right? Before somebody is found guilty, they're presumed to be innocent. But once they're tried, then they're either found guilty or not guilty. But they are presumed to be innocent. That's what it is, right? So they're not found to be innocent. They are innocent, and then after trial, they're either found to be guilty or not guilty.
Yeah, and also actual innocence can be used as a defense. That was actually recently discussed about on Leto's Law. So check that out if you would like more information on that. But I want to pause here and just highlight this sentence right here. I had a cellmate who killed one toddler. She had been attacked and poisoned while in jail. This sounds like a fucking nightmare.
She even says she had a cellmate who killed one toddler and paralyzed another. Paralyzed another. Who can you imagine living with somebody like that? Because in the male prison, those people don't last very long. They're called what do they call them? Chodes, I think they're called. I don't remember the guy's name, but I watch a couple shows that talk about they're ex-inmates that talk about prison life. And there's one guy I watch. The guy is massive, big dude. I believe he was an ex-biker of sorts, and he really has a hatred toward what they call chodes, I call them, which are people that have committed these types of crimes in prison because they all have to be in segregation, which is kind of odd because it sounds like she's not in segregation. It sounds like she does go to Gen Pop in some ways, although she's in jail 21, in a cell 21 hours a day. But most people that have crimes relating to kids have to have specialized housing because the general population looks very unfavorably on those particular types of crimes. Chomos.
Yeah.
Chomos they're called. Thank you, naive atheist. Chomos.
Yeah. And she continues, I have gotten COVID no less than 5 times. No treatment is provided for this in jail. I now have COVID-induced hemolytic anemia.
Yeah, that's what it says here. She also says that the woman that did all that was she said was grotesque. It doesn't go into details of the poisoning, but she does say that she was she had hemolytic anemia from COVID.
Now, let's see. That is, I looked it up on Google because I am not a medical professional. Type of anemia that occurs when red blood cells are destroyed faster than the body can produce them.
Yeah, and so that would lower your overall ability to absorb oxygen for the cells.
Wow, that's
and low
shitty.
And low blood iron, because anemia is low blood iron.
Now, I imagine that. I would hope at least that if she goes through this clusterfuck and is found to be not guilty at the very end of it, I would hope that she could sue the ever-living shit out of the prison system for doing that to her.
I would hope so.
I would fucking hope so.
I think that might be something that is keeping her going. I mean, nobody would want to spend 5 years of what she's doing, for millions of dollars. However, to some people, at least might. I'm obviously not worth it, but it would at least be fair recompense, fair compensation. You know, I mean, hell, if I would have gotten $1 million for spending 6 years in the Navy, I would have been ecstatic. But they only offered me $30,000 for 2 more years, and I turned that down. Now it's $125,000 for 2 more years, and they still can't find people that'll take it. So
Go figure.
Yeah, my selective enlistment bonus right now for my rate Reds is $125,000 for 2 years, for only 2 years, and they get like, I think they get like $30,000 going in or something. I don't know. They get some enlistment bonus that in 1987 didn't exist. So I didn't get an enlistment bonus. I didn't get anything from graduating, nuke school. I think they get $5,000 when they go through nuke school or something. I don't know, but they get a lot of money because they want these people to stay in, and because they get out faster than they recruit them. Because one, supposedly there's more money in the private sector for my training, and two, people realize it's 6 years of absolute hell. It is being a nuke in the Navy is not an easy job. It's right up there with things like torpedoman. I would say it's worse than probably air traffic controller. I think that's the only job in the military that's probably more stressful than nuke. Is air traffic controller, and I've read that somewhere in Time magazine.
I would never want to be an air traffic controller.
Yeah, they did a study on that, and they found that air traffic controller, both in the military and civilian sector, is the most stressful. And I'll capitulate to that. I think that would probably be more stressful than having a 150 megawatt reactor core at your fingertips. Yeah, I will agree with that. I would never want to be an air traffic control person.
I would never want to do that. So she continues. Also, most don't know this. I didn't. If a district attorney doesn't feel a case has any validity, they will not drop it. They simply recuse themselves and have it handed off. I am on my 3rd district attorney for this case.
Unreal. 3rd district attorney. I mean, there's no cause for that unless what she's saying is probably true. That, a prosecutor doesn't want something on their record of a loss, especially a high-profile case. And this is at least a moderately high-profile case. I wouldn't say it's super high level, but it's something that is newsworthy. Mercedes Carrera is a known name in the industry. So them not wanting to prosecute it, it would make sense to them to hand it off. I mean, I would love to hear from the prosecution, the district attorney, of why this is happening, and why her public defender isn't even just asking for dismissal of all charges at this point.
Because if there's a pattern of behavior where the state is just continuously fucking around and not getting anything done, I would assume that a competent judge would be like, look, there's limits. Either you have a case or you don't.
Right.
So if you have one, kind of thing, then I expect you to find someone that can argue the case.
Right. 3 district attorneys in 5 years? That's just unheard of.
Yeah, so I would say, like, I mean, this is me. If I was the judge, let's all just take a moment and close our eyes and imagine a world where I was the judge, where I would actually get some shit done. Nice thought, right? Anyway, I would immediately put a time limit and say you have X number of weeks to find someone who is going to take this case and stick with it. And if you cannot find that one person that's actually going to stick with it all the way to its conclusion, we're dismissing everything and she gets released.
Totally agree. Would you like to continue the next paragraph, or would like me to read for a few? I really don't care either way.
Yeah, by all means, continue.
All right. She goes on to say, in America, there are few practical limits on pretrial detention. As long as you're, quote, charged with a life charge, they can hold you indefinitely. And, for example, while I was waiting for the prosecution to open my phones, I, and she emphasizes I here with asterisk, was forced to continue the case. So from the outside, it looks like it is my fault the case is being delayed. In actuality, I wanted to go to trial years ago, but I have been forced to delay. Keep in mind, we are taken to court in shackles, hobbles, and I have zero say in anything and on what occurs in the courtroom. Real life isn't anything like Law and Order. I'll just continue a little bit more. Every county has its own rule set. I've been told San Bernardino County is the worst by real convicts. They will hold people other countries wouldn't, and they are known for their corruption. I will give you an example. I housed with a woman who is an ex-wife of a San Bernardino County deputy sheriff. He weaponized the, quote, system against her and had her repeatedly arrested to strip her of custody, deny her alimony and child support. They held her for years, underlined, on a, quote, trespassing charge. Typically that charge would be a weekend stay in jail, at most, underlined. Often is simple misdemeanor. Now this is interesting, Riz, because the way she worded this is interesting. I didn't catch it the first time, but she says told by real convicts, which means that she's distancing herself from her being a real convict, which an innocent person would do, right? I don't know if that's conscious or subconscious, but I think it's telling that she was like, there are real convicts out there, and she does not think of herself as a real convict. I mean,
no, and if you are actually innocent, then I can totally understand that.
Right. And again, I don't know if that's intentional, subconscious, or whatever, but it does say she's at least trying to distance herself from somebody who actually did the crimes to be incarcerated as she is.
But listen to the severity of that particular case. So the ex-wife of a deputy sheriff is getting absolutely dragged through the system. Absolutely fucking dragged through the system. Let's assume, for the sake of argument, that she was guilty of this trespassing charge. And let's also say that it's not bullshit and she had all the legal representation, all that stuff. A year for that?
Yeah.
A year?
A misdemeanor.
Are you fucking kidding me?
A misdemeanor is usually several months up to 1 year, but anything over a year, I don't see how they can even hold you any longer. For a trespassing charge? Here, where I'm at, trespassing is an overnight stay. You're released, or even the same day.
I mean, the fact that it could ever go up to a year is just fucking absurd.
Most of the places just give you a written to appear, unless you refuse to leave still, then they will arrest you. I've had people arrested for trespassing before because they just refused to leave, and then they would come back and they would refuse to leave, and finally, we've already had them on file that they were trespassed, in which case, when they're back, the police can come in and just arrest them for being there. As long as they have what's called a record of incident report number, they will arrest them, but it's very, very, very rare.
I mean, we had when I was 16 years old, my first job was at a pizza joint, and my manager actually had someone trespassed off of his property after he refused to leave. I don't know. I forget the situation. It was probably something along the lines of he ordered pineapple on his pizza, and we called him a fucking abomination, and he didn't like that very much.
It's not pizza. It's just Hawaiian flatbread at that point. I just
want you to know that pineapple on pizza is an abomination, and you are a disgusting human being if you partake in whatever the fuck that is. But anyway,
although anchovies is good, I agree what you say.
Police officers did show up, and they arrested the guy because he became very belligerent with them, and he was trespassing. So there you go, 2 for the price of 1, dinner and a show. Well, guess what? He showed up back on our doorstep the next day.
What possesses somebody to do this? Again, I don't even know why people, like, for example, when we've trespassed people, it blows my mind that people have come back.
It blows my mind too. But the thing is, like, they're saying that this woman was held for a year on a trespass, and meanwhile, this jackass in Florida can come back the next fucking day.
Weird, huh?
The system is so weird.
But I did watch something, not to go too off path, but we're almost done with this letter, and we'll be wrapping it up soon. I did watch something where an officer held his girlfriend or wife, I think it was his girlfriend, in basically a submissive hold for an extended period of time, waiting for the police to come pick her up to try to put her on a psych hold. And he was found criminally liable for unlawful detention or something, and I think it was, I don't know if kidnapping, unlawful detention, but he was fired and prosecuted for abuse of power because he used his power to make his girlfriend appear to be the mental one when she was the sane one all along and he was the abuser. So we do know, unfortunately, that there's a high degree of abuse in law enforcement. And again, this is not to slight law enforcement as a whole. I am an avid, believer in good law enforcement. Most people in the First Amendment auditors, they want to see good officers. As a matter of fact, they highlight them. And I love watching a video where the officer does well. I really do. I actually like that, even more than the officers who lose their freaking mind, because it's hope. It's hope that law enforcement don't abuse their power, because they're entrusted with an awful lot of power. And if they do have these ego trips, they are prone to abuse them and are prone to weaponize their power they have against those people that they want to abuse. And so if they have an abusive relationship, such as this one cop that was trying to get, or did actually get, his girlfriend on a 3-day psych hold, that should be criminally prosecuted, because that is completely abuse of power. And it shows that their mindset, it shows that they are mentally not capable of being an officer if you're going to do that to another human being.
I totally agree. And it's amazing to me, like, we have such a low bar for these fucking people.
Yeah,
I
they don't
swear.
require degrees here. I think it's UK. I think they have to have like a 2 or 4 year degree. I don't know how it is in Canada, but it actually is a profession up there where you have to be educated. Here it's like, okay, here's a little course, here's a little things on the law, go forth and protect the city, even though they're not even required to protect it. That's not even a job function of the police anymore. The police have no onus to serve and protect. That's the kind of shit where you should be
vetted for some moral standards that are actually worth a shit.
Well, I think moral
hey, do you think a person should be in jail for a crime that they didn't commit? Do you believe in the concept of innocent until proven guilty?
Shouldn't those be taught in a civics class? I think moral theory and basic civics should be mandatory in high school. Mandatory.
Basically what I'm saying is we have failed our society at this point, and it's only going to get worse from here. Buckle up, motherfuckers.
Not to tank this show too much, but I'm sorry, but they're spending more time on gender theory than civics or something. It's like, seriously? It's seriously? Stick with the basics here.
Sounds like a future Non-Sequitur show. Let's see. The county is also prone, she continues, the county is also prone to arresting and prosecuting women who are the victims in the case. Why? Well, the jail is really poorly run, and I'm assuming that meant hosing. Hosing the taxpayer is fun, so the deputy...
She says, by the way, the victims is underlined. She says, who are the victims underlined in this case? She says, why? Well, the jail is a really poorly run hostel. The taxpayers fund. Have you ever seen a hostel? It's basically bunk beds, small room. It's basically like a very, very, very cheap hotel.
Yeah, I imagine that. I was just trying to make it make sense with the way it was typed out.
I don't know if they have them in your lands, because they're not really popular here in the United States.
No, I know what they are. It just, that word didn't make sense within the sentence, so I picked a word that did make sense with the sentence. But basically, what he's saying is ripping off the taxpayers' fund, so the deputy and the courts can earn a paycheck. It's all financials, she says. Typically, one wouldn't know this until one lives it. Again, every country is different. Look up District Attorney for San Bernardino. He's known for his corruption.
Yeah, every county, I have county here, is every different. And yeah, I don't know the name of the District Attorney for San Bernardino, and I didn't look up any names, but I did look up prior charges of corruption within the DA's office, per se, and there seems to be some articles on that. I didn't dive too deep in it, but it sounds like she might not, be completely pulling this out of her ass.
And she finishes off here. I'm not sure what else to tell you. I don't know how interesting I was, but I believe I remembered your show. My memory has suffered in here. I apologize about not remembering much about what we had discussed. Thank you again for your inquiry. I hope my answer was sufficient. Best regards.
Yeah. And absolutely it was. And obviously after 5 years, for one show, I couldn't expect her to remember much. I mean,
I imagine she's gone through some shit.
Right, and and she literally did videos for a living. Can you imagine if you had to recall every porn shoot you ever did? it's just not going to happen. Like, I can't even recall every show that I've read by any stretch of imagination. I've watched shows where I was like, damn, this is interesting, and I don't even know what the hell's going on, and I was the one in the show. It's like, yeah, you can't remember everything. Nobody has that kind of mental power except for people that claim to have a photographic, audio, visual memory, but I don't think that even they have that good. It's just
yeah.
You have limitations. And again, going through COVID, going through those trials that she's had for the last 5 months, going through what we've been through, it is very difficult to remember everything. But it's hard enough to remember what we need to remember, So I agree with her on that.
And it seems like, and again, I'm assuming that everything she is saying is true for this, but sounds like she is a victim of a flawed system that is being abused, that is not, honestly, they're just not doing their fucking job, especially when you consider that she's on her 3rd district attorney for this case. That leads me to believe, again, assuming this is true, that they don't have a case against her. They don't have a case against her, and they're just holding her in violation of, well, something to do with the Constitution, I would assume.
I do know that they threw out the gun charge. That has already been in the news. So they threw that out. They don't seem to have anything on the drugs, and they don't seem to have a video. So I don't know what the heck they got left. Now, somebody in the live chat was talking about Frank Zappa has some interest. Yeah, Kimomaki says Frank Zappa, San Bernardino has some remarks about the jail in San Bernardino. Yeah, from what I remember, Frank Zappa was actually picked up. He actually is from Rancho Cucamonga, where she's housed at. Her detention facility is actually, I believe, in Rancho Cucamonga, and he actually has a studio there. And I think he was picked up by San Bernardino or something like that on, was it drug charges at one time? Do you guys remember? Or some kind of porn video or something like that. I remember something about it. Some sex tape with a party of some kind. Kimomaki probably remembers more than I do, but I do remember Frank Zappa was picked up somewhere in the San Bernardino area, because Rancho Cucamonga and San Bernardino are all the same kind of area. It's not too far from Riverside, and I'm not too far from Riverside. I live in Riverside County, so I don't like going up to San Bernardino area. I never did. There are parts of Riverside that I do like, and parts of Riverside that I will never step foot in. But you got to know where to go, and I don't have that knowledge any longer because I don't get up that often. But I did have to go to Riverside every so often. But I was never a fan of San Bernardino. It's
yeah,
not
it seems like it's a really shitty place, judging by what she's saying here. And also, the one thing that I feel terrible about is, and not the only thing I feel terrible about, but the one thing I do feel terrible about is the fact that she has to live in unsanitary conditions. This sucks, especially if she's gotten like COVID 5 times and they don't have, I'm assuming a medical staff worth a shit, and if she is having issues with her red blood cell count because of the shit that's going on in jail, and she's found to have been innocent of all of this bullshit, I hope she sues the living fuck out of them and gets some money out of it. Because she's going to have to, I don't know if there is any treatment for this. Again, I'm not a doctor, but at the very least, she should go after them financially, just on principle alone. Yeah, she should go after them just on principle alone, that no, you do not get to treat me like shit. You do not get to make me live in, unsanitary conditions. You do not get to put me in an environment where I get COVID 5 fucking times over. You don't get to do that. And you're now going to pay for the bullshit that you put me through.
Yeah, and the doctors in a lot of these facilities are probably barely hanging on to the medical license as it is.
I imagine.
I would hope that they would find some decent doctors, but there might be a few doctors that what they want to do. They want to work in the prison system to help people, but they also might find people that
we all know the budget. We all know the Hippocratic Oath.
Do no harm unless it fills your pocketbook. To some.
Steve, how did you know the bit in parentheses? I'm impressed.
Yeah. I mean,
do no harm in parentheses unless there's some money involved.
Unless there's some money to be made. Yeah, that's what I think a lot of these plastic surgeons and people, and I was going to say butchering kids in the name of gender ideology, and I'm not gonna stop on that. That is something a hill that I would absolutely die on. Do what you want as an adult, but just stay away from the kids.
One thing that I want to know is, if Mercedes has the ability to make a phone call, do you think she would be willing to have a conversation with us so that we could record it and play it on the show?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, most places, as long as you have money in your account, you have phone privileges.
Yeah, that's right. You have to pay for these fucking phone calls. How much is one of these phone calls?
I have no idea.
Let me do some quick Googling while you ramble.
I actually, the way I sent this letter to her, I did it through the computer system, and I actually had to pay for it. And I don't mind that because it's something that I really did want to follow up on. So anybody that wants to donate to this particular project to find out more about Mercedes, feel free to via super chat or leave me a tip in the comment section, because my correspondence with her is coming out of my own pocket, because it's more than just a stamp. I'm sending it through a thing. I would like to have it certified mail, which I think I sent the last one, and then return receipt, which is a little bit more expensive. That way I know she has received it. So if you would like to donate to that, I think the most for a certified letter, return receipt, I think it costs $9 total, or something like that along those lines. So if you would like to donate to that, by all means, let me know. But I did look it up real quick. I did look it up. Frank Zappa was 24 when he was arrested, and there was an audio recording of, I guess, a sex tape at a bachelor's party that he was charged with producing pornography or something like that. This was in 1965, and I guess he's had a beef with them ever since, because he spent like 10 days in, quote, a filthy, crowded jail known as Tank C. So interesting. I knew remember something like that, but it was from a very long time ago. Yes.
So I looked up just a random rate at a random jail, and it averages $5 for a 30-minute phone call. That's egregious.
Yeah, yeah. I know that, for example, it used to be when you got a prison call, you can reverse the charges, and you would get a phone call, such and such is calling from such and such correction facility to accept the charges, and that would be very, very expensive. That was back then. Back in those days, you could actually dial direct, or you can dial through an operator, and all these things cost money, right? So people were trying to dial direct, or you could say, like, I would like to dial direct to a specific person, and then you don't reach the person, you're not charged for it. This was back in the day where they had actual operators and rotary phones and things of that nature. You'd actually pay for what's called a connection-to-connection call, and then and so if you were trying to reach a specific person, if you didn't reach them, you didn't have to pay for that call. But if you did reach them, you had a surcharge. That was before you were probably even in live, Reds. Did you ever hear anything like that?
Nope.
Yep, that was before your days. But I remember back in the days, way back in the 70s, before you were a glint in your mother's eye. That is how it was. The older people in my audience hopefully might remember that. But real quick, I do have a super chat. Go ahead, Reds, and I'll read the super chat.
No, I was going to say you're right. Back in the day, it was a nice warm night, and they were about to get it on, and then something terrible happened, and now I'm here.
Parents doing this. This is not the show that I want to do, Reds, because look what they created. Because I'm assuming your parents are not unattractive. Because I don't know what the hell happened with you. Are you sure you wanted adopted? Are you sure about this?
I mean, Steve, all I'm saying is I have this on DVD if you want to see it sometime.
No.
Anyway, for $10, please do a follow up.
Thank you, Native Atheist, for $10. Please do a follow up. Yes, thank you. And I plan to do a follow up, but I will do it at least a certified mail for sure. And like I said,
you can get a phone call. I mean, I'd actually pay for that. I mean, don't get me wrong. $5 for a 30-minute phone call is fucking stupid, but I'd pay that $5.
Yeah.
Because I imagine that she can say a lot in 30 minutes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't mind that at all. Yeah, I mean, I'll take care of that if she can. But like I said, I'll follow up, and I will probably do what's called a return request receipt. That way I know she did receive it. So thank you, Native Atheist. And I will note that you were the one that is supporting this particular site.
Yeah, $10 is an hour right there. That's an hour-long phone call right there. And it's like, hey.
That's going to pay for my cost to send her the letters. But I mean, that's okay. Like I said, I will definitely ask and find out if she's able to make a phone call. And we'll go from there. Sound good?
Well, in that case, I'll throw $10 to the cause. So let's set that up. Let's set up a follow up and be like, hey, we would like to do a follow up. Let's have a phone call. Are you okay with that? And I'm sure she'll be thrilled about the prospect.
Absolutely, yeah. And matter of fact, she on her webpage, it's something like, hey, please write to her. She will write back, and she did do that. So if you guys do want to write her, I have the address available. Just DM me. I don't want to make it public. Even though the address is public, but I have her inmate number and all that. Message me directly, and I can give you all that. If you yourself want to send her a personalized message, by all means. But if not, leave me a comment on the video itself, and I will include that in my message to her, because I'll just cut and paste it. Because again, I'm just typing all this out, and I have a mail service that I use that makes this mail and sends it off to her, and clearly it works because she received it and I got a response. So clearly that mail service that I use does work. And thanks to Native Atheist, I will be able to send this first-class certified return request and get a response quicker. And I think that we should continue to communicate with her and follow up on her. She was an amazing guest. Barring anything that she had did, hopefully, of course, she's found not guilty and she is innocent of all these crimes. She was an amazing guest, and I'm going to treat her as such with respect. And I think that's how we should treat all people, with respect, assuming that they are not convicted of any crimes and that she is innocent. Again, I'm not saying she is or isn't innocent or isn't guilty, but it does sound to me that there is some fuckery afoot when it comes to the prosecution, and the fact that they threw out the charges for the weapon. I think they were throwing out the drug charges, and there doesn't seem to be a video involved. I think she has a strong case. I think that she has a strong case, and hopefully this might get resolved for soon, because I can't imagine her spending another 5 years on this. Can't imagine it.
Yep. Absolutely. And to finish it off, I'm just going to say that my thoughts mirror yours, Steve. So, guys, I do want to say thank you very much for watching this episode of the Non-Sequitur Show. And I would like all of you to subscribe. Make sure you hit that like button. And also, did you know that Steve is on Twitter? You should
I am on Twitter. I'm on Twitter a lot.
You should follow him on Twitter, because here's the thing. Steve made a really stupid decision. Oh, he did the worst fucking thing that he could have ever have done, and he's done some pretty horrendous shit in his life. But he has, and I cannot believe I'm saying this, he has a blue check.
I've gone blue.
And as we all know, having a blue check is equivalent to having ass cancer. So
I've got Twitter ass cancer. But you know what? I can edit with my ass cancer now.
If you can send Steve your well wishes and wish him a speedy recovery. Hopefully, if we all work together, we can have some thoughts and prayers towards the goal of him not having that blue check.
Oh, I'm paid for a year, so I paid for a year. So at Steve McRae _, so for at least a year, I'm blue. But I do like the edit feature. I'm not going to lie, and I do like the ability to write more.
And fuck your
do
blue
I think
check,
it's worth
Steve.
it? Probably not. But
you paid for Twitter.
I paid for Twitter.
You paid for fucking Twitter, Steve. Come on.
It's my one outlet, okay? I mean, I'm on Twitter more than I am anything else.
But
I'm on more Twitter than I am YouTube. But even then, in the last couple of days, I haven't been on Twitter much. And I'll have to tell you, Reds, what I've been up to, because it's actually kind of fun. Because I've been playing this little role-playing game online. So that's been taking a little bit of my time, because I needed some respite, some relaxation. So I just been playing a game. So I haven't been on Twitter much as I usually am on my free time. So that's why.
Yeah. fuck you and your blue check. So anyway,
all right. Well, you're on Twitter too, but you don't have a blue check, so follow Reds on Twitter as well.
Thank you very, very much for the plug, and to the rest of
don't
you.
Forget your channel, Flat Earthers out there, beware. Red still does his Flat Earth stuff. I thought he kind of gave up on it, hoping that the Flat Earth thing is over, but apparently not. So.
No, we got some updates and a lot of good shit in the future. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and end it here. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I really do appreciate it. Steve, thank you very much for inviting me on to the Non-Sequitur Show. It's always a pleasure. And yeah, I'm going to say have a good night.
All right, thank you, my friends. Always a pleasure to have you on, Reds. Obviously, you are as integral as this show as I am. So please, anytime you want to drop by for an episode, don't hesitate. Now get out of here.
Absolutely. I will not hesitate to show up on the show again, and I will not hesitate to tell you that your blue check is fucking stupid.
But I can edit. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Please leave a comment of what you would like to say to Mercedes Carrera. I will be writing her a letter probably tomorrow or sometime this weekend, and then expediting it because Native Atheist has graciously donated. And he is a subscriber of the channel and a member of the channel. He gets that cool green name. So if you also want to support the channel, then you can do that by becoming a member of the channel, and you get the little cool name. Or just, like I said, leave a tip in the comment section, and it's appreciated. And it also goes to my Twitter blue mark a little bit, too. So with that, guys, we'll see you later, and we'll see you next time on the Non Sequitur Show. Good night.